Before we do pack up, Kerry's just asked me if he can have a couple of minutes just to finish off. So just a couple of minutes, then we've got to put these tables back, have a quick cup of tea, and we'll get out of here. So thanks very much for those of you who turned up today. It's a bit unfortunate we didn't see a number of the general public here today. It's been well advertised, but I guess it shows if we want to change, it's pretty obvious who's going to have to do it. Kerry, over to you.
Yeah. We can all get very passionate about these things, and I won't take too much time. There are a lot of snoozers in New Zealand, and that's one of the big problems we're up against. More than 20 years ago, I was a suicidal man that nearly took his son with him. So I'm well down the track from there now. And all I say to you in all sincerity, that if you really want to change this country and fix up the family problems, then you need to become a Republican and get in behind them. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. And straight off the top of the brainstorming, I offer the Project Reunion people this slogan because I heard what Dave said, and you're right, Dave. We want child support, not child tax. And I seriously offer that as a slogan, and as a Republican I will probably begin to push it soon. Because child support is an absolute effing rip-off, and I know what I'm saying, and I know it's impolite to say so. The Republicans are a registered political party all the way to the next election. I would be very confident right now, if there was a snap election, and the chances of that are increasing, we would field at least 20 candidates right now. We intend to field a slate of 53 candidates at the next election. Our policy committee has basically decided that already. The Republicans are no flash in the pan or a one-issue party. You will soon begin to hear about next year the 5 Ways Forward campaign. We have 5 major planks and are increasingly beefing up policies across every aspect of life. We are serious, and we are laying the foundation for the future. And although I announced that I was the leader just earlier, I don't own this thing, and in a while things will happen. There are only leaders, and leaders who are waiting to be replaced. I understand this. I'm not a fool. And so are my friends. I am personally already beginning to cast around for the person who will become possibly the first president of New Zealand. It won't be me. Won't happen that quick. But all we need to do is to get in as a minor party next election, and then we have a chance to change child tax to child support. Because you only have to have the balance of power, and we could do it if you tell your friends. You need to tell them. Briefly, the 5 ways forward of the Republicans, so that you understand the comprehensiveness of the vision, is the first one is a constitution. In essence, that means, like most modern republics around the world, we will reconcile grievances with the Treaty of Waitangi fairly and finally, and the resources will be beefed up. Then the Constitution will totally replace the Treaty of Waitangi so that we are all equal under the law, because republicanism is about equality, and that extends into family life too, and the way you pay your child support. The second point is direct democracy. For many years now in New Zealand, you talk to people and they say, once those guys get down in the beehive, they take no notice of you anymore. They have to be made accountable through mechanisms of direct democracy, similar to what is done in Switzerland, but not exactly the same. the Republicans will bring in binding national referenda and binding local initiatives. This will rein in things like the rates problem in Auckland and parliamentarians who think they're going to stop you from smacking your children. I smacked both of my children and I've already smacked 3 grandchildren. You only have to do it once or twice in the right circumstances and you never have to do it again. The third one is the critical one that we're here on about this afternoon. The Republicans stand for family restored. And there is a matrix of social policy and law which has been steadily going further and further out of control for the last 30 years. With the family restored, we're simply saying that despite what you've heard in various places in recent years, there is only one family, there only ever was one family. That's mum,
Yes.
dad and the kids.
Yes.
Whether mum and dad live together anymore is irrelevant. They're a family even if they are apart. And they have to be encouraged and pressured to cooperate. So I could talk to you about a whole matrix of family law, but let's talk about child support. The Republicans are absolutely committed to equal parenting as the foundation of social policy and law. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Keep up the good work. The Republicans are very keen to work. It will never stop. So, child support really should be, if there's an agreement to look after the 2 children and it's working, there should be no child support. The state has no right to interfere. The parents decide on the quality of life for those children, whatever. If there is a breakdown, then child support, we need a modern model for today's world. We're not looking back to Victoriana anymore where dad pays the money and mum looks after the kids. It's way out of date. The law needs to be brought up to date. Mum and dad are equally responsible for the children, and that includes the money.
Yes.
That includes the money.
And the time.
Yes. But with child support, we're talking about the money. And the other thing that the Republicans are very keen on, child support will be drawn at the administrative level by the tax department or whoever administers it as the essential needs, which is way below what they charge at the moment with their child tax. Once a family breaks up, and it's usually the woman who calls that shot, neither the husband or the wife can expect to live at the same living standard. There almost always is a diminishment, and that should be shared equally. So the 2 key points are that child support, the money paid for the upkeep of a child, the woman and the man, you will pay 50% of it each. You can't lay it all on the guy. That's the modern world. And the other thing is the cost of maintaining a child will come down to the level of essential needs. The state has no right to interfere other than at that level to secure that there's a roof, some food, some clothes, and the kid goes to school. Over and above that, what happens outside of that is the parent's choice, and many parents, particularly men, they will readily empty their whole wallet for their kid. But it's not the state's role to take it to that level. That's what the Republicans say. So that's where we stand with child support, and incidentally, we will also abolish the family court and replace it totally with the mediation service. The adversarial model for resolving family differences is terrible. You need a completely different range of skills altogether. You need mediators and counsellors who simply say to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you have to come back to the table again because we still haven't worked out how you're going to look after Susan and Jimmy. based on the foundational principle that you both have a right to see your children. At least 60-40, preferably 50-50. And just by closing up, what's our fourth one? Yeah, we do have an economic policy also, which is being fleshed out all the time, but it is centronomics. We're not to the right for the greedies, and we're not to the left for the communists. We're straight down the guts, because political power always is about the battle for the middle of the road. The mass, the ordinary, decent people in the middle. This is who we want to represent. So the Republicans are already stealing people from the National Party and the Labour Party. Why? Because we're right between both of them, where you need to be. And the fifth one is Kiwi Green. These are our 5 major planks because we do care about the environment. And so, in a word, yeah, of course, what else would you expect a Republican to be standing here saying, other than you need to become one, because we're going to fix child support and the family court, the 2 demons out there, and can you honestly say, looking at all of the other political parties, is there anybody here from another party? Is there any other pamphlet here from another party? They don't want to know about it. All they will ever do is tinker with it. And this is what you have to do. Tinkering is no good. The leadership in New Zealand in recent years, the last 20 years, has been so weak that there are now a number of areas in New Zealand life that need major reform. And unfortunately, there are not just 1 or 2, there's several. And the family has to be restored. We deserve much better than family devastation and family dysfunction. Far too many people accept that as normal. It is not normal. It is normal to put the reinforcement and the reward around those people who commit to each other and to look after their children for as long as possible, preferably to the day they die, and certainly until their children are old enough to go to work and look after themselves. In that sense, Western society has been failing for a long time. And until somebody brings these matrix of social policies into being like this, well, some of the living dead, as I call them, will never wake up, because we don't have to accept this dysfunction or the abuse that's delivered to us by the tax department. So as a Republican, I'll be persuading as many people as possible, and particularly my Republican colleagues, to join the convoy, get to the conference, and to shake the cage as hard and as loud as we can, because what is going on with the tax department is intolerable. They're out of control, and they have been ripping off people hugely for years and driving men into suicide. That's all I've got to say. Thanks for listening.